Welcome to this comprehensive guide on mastering the student's T-table. Whether you are a student of statistics, a data scientist, or a researcher, understanding how to navigate this table is a fundamental skill for hypothesis testing and confidence intervals. Today, we will demystify every row, column, and curve associated with the T-distribution. Before we dive into the numbers, let's look at the history. In 1908, William Sealy Gosset, a chemist working for the Guinness Brewery in Dublin, needed a way to monitor the quality of stout with small samples. Because he wasn't allowed to publish under his own name to protect trade secrets, he used the pseudonym Student. Thus, the student's T-distribution was born. Unlike the normal distribution, the T-distribution accounts for the extra uncertainty that comes from small sample sizes. To read the table, you must understand two primary components: the degrees of freedom, often abbreviated as DF, and the level of significance, denoted as alpha. The degrees of freedom represent the number of independent pieces of information in your data. For a simple mean, it is calculated as your sample size n-1. This n-1 logic compensates for the fact that we are estimating the population standard deviation using our sample. The T-distribution is not just one curve, it's a family of curves. As the sample size increases, the T-distribution starts looking more and more like the standard normal Z-distribution. With small degrees of freedom, the curve has fatter tails, meaning there is a higher probability of finding extreme values. This is why critical values in the T-table are larger than those in the Z-table for the same confidence level. Now, look at the top of the T-table. You will see columns representing alpha. Alpha is the probability of making a type 1 error, rejecting the null hypothesis when it is actually true. You must decide if you are performing a one-tailed test or a two-tailed test. In a one-tailed test, all your alpha is in one side of the distribution. In a two-tailed test, you split your alpha into two, looking at both the upper and lower extremes. Let's walk through a real-world example. Imagine you are a quality control manager at a coffee packaging plant. You take a sample of 15 coffee bags and want to calculate a 95% confidence interval. First, calculate the degrees of freedom. 15 minus 1 equals 14. Next, identify your alpha. Since it's a confidence interval, we use a two-tailed approach. 100% minus 95% leaves 5% for alpha, or 0.05. We look for the intersection of DF14 and alpha 0.05 for two tails. Following the row for 14 and the column for 0.05, we find the critical value, 2.145. This value tells us how many standard errors we need to move away from the mean to capture 95% of the data. If our sample size were larger, say 100, our degrees of freedom would be 99, and the t-value would drop toward 1.96, which is the z-score for a 95% confidence interval. This proves that the t-distribution is more conservative than the normal distribution for small samples. In conclusion, reading the t-table is a three-step process. Identify your degrees of freedom, determine your alpha level based on your test type, and find their intersection. Mastering this tool allows you to perform robust statistical analysis even when data is scarce. Practice with different sample sizes and you will see how the T-distribution bridges the gap between small-scale experiments and large-scale probability. References: Gujarati, Dinan, Basic Econometrics, Friend, J.E., Mathematical Statistics, Lind, D.A., Statistical Techniques in Business and Economics.